You're listening to episode 333.
Welcome to Transforming Missions Podcast, providing you with insights and resources you need to lead a movement of Jesus followers.
Hope is a key driver of 5 of life's most desired behaviors and outcomes. It's remarkable that all of the things that could be a driver, it's hope. So let's talk about these behaviors. Sarah, what's the first behavior?
As you hear us name each of these desired behaviors and outcomes, consider how, as a Christ-centered leader, you're helping to facilitate each one of these. Now, some of them you might say, that's someone else's responsibility, not mine. But think about the culture and the context that you're helping to facilitate that may or may not facilitate these behaviors and outcomes, and in turn, make hope the key driver of your life together. So here's the first behavior. It's really simple. Showing up.
As in being present?
Exactly, as in being present. They found that kids who had a high degree of hope missed only 2 days of school. Kids with low hope, that number at least doubled. Play that number out, that when kids hit the 6th grade and beyond, and they missed a lot of school, the likelihood of them dropping out of school and not graduating also increases.
And if I understand it correctly, showing up isn't just for kids. There's also research from a high-tech firm that showed that hope, more than job satisfaction, commitment to the company, or confidence to do the job determined whether or not people would show up for work.
Yeah, I'm just imagining a tech firm basing decisions about people on hope and what difference that would make in the world.
Now, I'm imagining a church basing decisions about people based on hope.
There you go. Now Tim's going to start preaching. I'm kidding, because you're correct. But imagine if the way that we lead, collaborate, and connect, it was all tied to hope. The church would and can be multipliers of hope.
I could get excited about that.
I could too. Are we ready for the next behavior?
Sure, you're going to give it to us?
Sure, here we go. It's increased productivity across executive roles, across sales roles, financial roles, fast food, managerial, didn't matter. You get the point. Across roles, people who have high hope come up with more high-quality solutions and better high-quality solutions to anything that they're facing. In education, they were able to show how high hope in the first semester of school could predict how well students performed, whether they were progressing toward a degree, and ultimately whether or not they would graduate. Another interesting part that is under the category is high hope people being able to adapt and navigate to change. And that probably makes a whole lot of sense if you go back to our previous 2 episodes where we talked about the hope cycle and the way that the brain works in terms of being people of hope. That, yeah, people of hope don't stop when they encounter an obstacle. They just find a new pathway to continue toward the goal that they're working towards.
I like that. It all makes sense. So let me move to the third behavior, or the outcome, is boosting well-being. Here's the question I'd ask about this one. Have you ever met someone who's happy and hopeless at the same time?
No.
Hope spurs us to pursue what matters most, and in turn, that gives us a sense of control and purpose, the 2 things that are important to well-being. But don't go too far with this one. Go ahead and say, hope is necessary for happiness, but on its own, hope is not sufficient for happiness.
That's a good distinction. The 4th outcome is enjoying good health. There are a couple of relationships going on with this one. Hopeful people tend to make better choices. So following doctor's orders, taking prescription medications, making choices about foods to eat are all impacted by our level of hope. Hopeful people are also better at tolerating pain, which I found fascinating. How we think about the future clearly affects our health. Now, here's what I wonder about this one. Has your doctor ever asked you about your hopes and dreams? Mine sure hasn't.
They haven't caught up with us yet, have they? And finally, the fifth is a bit morbid. Hopelessness predicts mortality. After turning 70, I'm interested in this one. Living longer is tied to hope. The research followed a group of people. 722 were hopeful about the future. 73 were not. And in the group of 73, there was a higher mortality rate regardless of age, sex, or other demographics. The hopeful were also less likely to be depressed. No surprise there.
No, there isn't a surprise there. Let's think for a minute about those 5 behaviors and outcomes. Hope matters. I'm going to keep saying it. It impacts the decisions we make each day and how we live our lives. Hope isn't just something that benefits us in a mysterious way, although there's still plenty of mystery that's tied up in hope. Hope matters for those 5 specific reasons that we just named.
So, Sarah, I'm thinking we should be really talking and acting on hope more frequently in the church. Now, when I say that, that's not to say that it's not present. But I think of it this way. When I consider the cross-section of people that make up a local church, we could all benefit from sharing and spreading hope.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this question on a previous episode. And the question is this: can you think of a moment when you felt most alive? Even reminding people of that moment can give a boost of hope. Again, it's not about wishful thinking. If there isn't enough money, dreaming that it will grow on the tree out back, we've all heard that metaphor, that's not hope. But let's say that there's a goal. We want to be debt-free. We want to be able to buy a boat. We want to be able to travel across Europe, to put money aside for college for the kids. Whatever it is, if you have a goal, that's going to help you to be filled with hope.
That's exactly what I was thinking. If you have a goal you're working toward and you're aware of the path that you're taking, the obstacles that can and will emerge, and you can claim the agency, you're going to have hope. Hope begets hope for all the reasons we've just talked about.
Yeah, and as I think about the 5 behaviors again, in terms of mortality, in terms of enjoying good health, in terms of boosting well-being, productivity, and simply being present in the life of the church, imagine if we were an incubator of hope. If people experience hope in and through what is happening in the life of the church, do you think maybe they might be more eager to be present? If they had something, I'm thinking again about the roles that people play in the life of the church and having a purpose and contribution. If you're working towards something, if you have a goal that you're working towards, you're going to be there. We've used the term, I think, engagement in the life of the church.
Sarah, I'm thinking of something that's fundamental to our Christian faith, and that is when we talk about the resurrection, aren't we talking about hope? And here we have mortality, and we're talking about resurrection. I've often said to people who were wondering how something was going to happen, if people were going to follow through or whatever, and it was something big, and I'd say we either believe the resurrection or we don't. For me, that's hope is rooted there. it doesn't mean a whole lot if I don't believe it. But if I can trust and obey, as the word belief is, trust and obey the resurrection, and that Jesus is alive, God's love is still among us in human form in and through the body of Christ, then what is it that we face that we will not, that we can't accomplish, that we can't overcome, that we, just being present, Jesus is with us. God is with us. Even when we tried to get rid of God being with us, God says, I'm not going to take your no for an answer. I'm coming to be with you. And in fact, you may kill my son if you want to, but I'm going to come back in a bigger way in and through the church. Believing it and trusting the resurrection, the well-being that comes in knowing that whatever you're doing, whatever you're facing, is not going to be final. It's just not going to be. So I appreciate, what I really appreciate about this is that if we could just get a few people in our congregations to just be people of hope, that our communities would change, our lives would change, our communities would change, and I think maybe the world would change. We're recording this at a time when I think hope isn't on the minds of most people. And if we in the church could just begin to offer that kind of hope, not wishful thinking. We've already talked about how we could make hope happen and what it does to us now. Wow, what a story to tell and what a life to experience.
Yeah, I'm even thinking that even establishing, we talk at the end of the year, at the start of the year, people talk about goals and goal setting, right? But think about the power of that in terms of prodding people towards hope and helping people to experience hope, how a goal can help you to do that. It seems so benign, and yet when you have that goal, you're participating in the resurrection. Maybe that's the best way to say it, given what you offered.
That's just where my mind went immediately. And of course, I think in the last episode, I mentioned Holy Communion. Can you imagine what would happen in our churches with Holy Communion if we thought that every time we celebrate Holy Communion, we were remembering hope? It wouldn't be, we don't want to celebrate it too often because we don't want to lose its meaning. And it wouldn't be, I'm not worthy. In fact, you'd want to come to the table and participate because it would be offering something for tomorrow.
Right.
I could get excited about this. I think I said that earlier in the podcast.
Hope begets hope. Is there anything else that you want to offer before we conclude this episode?
As much as I want to talk more about hope, I think we've talked about hope to the place that all I'd want to do is invite people to use that little part of their brain that we talked about last episode and begin to live into a new day with hope.
1 inch above your left eyebrow. Right there. That's hope. Thank you, Tim. And thank you for listening. As we continue this journey of hope together, may you be a person of hope, because hope matters. As a reminder, you can find show notes for this episode at transformingmission.org/333. And remember, who you are is how you lead. Bye for now.